all for the second session. So yesterday we talked about the post-harvest losses, how to minimize that one, and today continue to that one. Rather than technical, we look for the social aspects. So the topic for today is social cultural factors, and that is the one thing which may be technical side quite ignored one, because whatever technology we are using, it's supposed to be adopted. Okay, and post-harvest things means post-harvest practices, and when we link with the losses, because the stakeholder in that area, their adoption rate for such technology is quite low still now. So we expect on that one what may be the barrier and how to overcome on that one. So we talked here in general because now we start already with the post-harvest operations. Then the strategies post-harvest. So we make the outline from the some post-harvest technologies and what is the main barrier and what is the main factor that is towards the adoption or towards the ignorance for that factors. And then we can see how to address that social or cultural barriers to adopt that technologies. So with that we start here. Now we are aware now one thing, because we already have the idea of what is when we talk about a post-harvest, starting from farm to the end user, and maybe as the course is meant towards the post-harvest, so we may hear that value chain many times throughout the whole sessions or all 5 days. So indirectly, our first idea here in the post-harvest value chain to improve the quality of the product, extend the shelf life of the product, and at the same time, when we get it to the market, okay, it's supposed to have the good economical prices. So all the factors supposed to be important here, and that is the one key role what we say whenever adoption of the technologies. It may be starting, as I mentioned here, because it's starting from farm to at the end user, maybe the market level. So anywhere we can use that one. So we mentioned some examples here, like a technological side, like a cold storage, as it requires from different product to product, and of course there are a lot of things when we consider the cold storage practices, why the farmer not using, what may be the social barrier for that one. The packaging solution also, if we come in the food background or post-harvest background, we know one thing here, there are a number of types of packaging. Yesterday we talked about a little bit on the corrugated packaging, but if you consider from paper, glass, wood, number of type of packaging, what may be the use or what may be good for the product. At the same time, when we look into the packaging side, another important aspect here, what's the locally available, and we use that one. And if it's a locally available, locally one, the people are ready to accept it. Then the facilities for the sorting, grading, maybe it's a farm level, maybe the storing site where we can say sorting, grading, and particularly that may be one important for the both way, one to maintain the quality, and at the end for the end users, because both way they are looking for that one. So when we have the product with a similar maturity or similar size, similar color, because why are we talking on that one? It has a post-harvest side. It has a when we say the consumer, we cannot directly link internal quality of the product. What we assess from our appearance, texture, color, that may be the first criteria from us to select the product, and then we try to link it with the internal quality of the product. Then after that one, we talk about the transportation, what we yesterday also discussed on that one. What type of transport system we have and how the people accept it. Sometimes they are aware that okay, when we handle the product roughly or the transportation system is not good, it may be affect your final product quality. But still that was the ignored one. So that may be some practices, some technologies still using, but with the time we can see it was go beyond 10 to 15 years back, and today there are a lot of change happening, but the progress is slow. That we need to agree on that one and accept on that one. So this is why typical some post-harvest technologies worldwide using, and so with the product to product it may changes, even sorting, grading, and what your consumer demand, that may be important aspects here. Are you looking the product for the local market, neighboring one, interstate one, or even for the international one? So you may follow some guidelines for the product quality, grading, sorting, even for the management. And for the international side, nowadays you may, as we yesterday mentioned about the industry 4 or food 4, and lot of aspects is coming on that one. And now for this type of things, even the advanced level, we can say the blockchain also coming in that way. So people like to know from where your product coming, what the practices you are choosing, what is the treatment, what's the storage temperature, all the information they like to know about that one. So this is the common picture what we see in the post-harvest. Sometimes it's the storage, sometimes it's the handling, sorting, and the practices commonly we can see here the sorting, grading. There are different approaches. Sometimes we can say people do by manually, or sometimes by now the advanced techniques like imaging and things. So manually when they look for sorting and practices, it may be cheaper. Okay, that's obviously it's cheaper when it's a manually. But at the same time, efficiency is the issue because there are human factors there. It's a similar way when we come in the class in the morning time, you are energetic, and at the last at 5 o'clock, if I ask you to listen the same way, it's not practical. So it's when the human doing that one at the morning, the efficiency and evening, and they need to deal with something. So some factors are there and fatigue, and then we move towards advancement like imaging techniques, what's commonly used in international level. So still the adoption, particularly in India, is quite low for such advanced techniques. People doing still by their experience, by their manual practices. So now for the when we see, and yesterday is also one thing mentioned that 1/3 product what we harvest never reach to the consumer, and even the magnitude is quite high for that one. And we aware that one if we using the post-harvest practices or advanced techniques for that one to preserve the product, we may protect the product. As we know about the things, but still it's not adopted. There may be different reasons, and that's maybe one aspect what we say here. Just one more. We may say here that socio-cultural barrier. Yeah. Socio-cultural barrier, that may be one aspect, and that may be the reason that technology, when we look here, are not adopted by the people. Because stakeholder, when we see in the value chain, they are starting from the first stakeholder is the farmer. Okay? And then vendors, retailers, traders, they are all involved in that one. And it's like be aware. Losses are there is a huge loss financially and the resources wise, and still the adoption, new things come in the market, people are not ready to accept it easily. It's a time being. Like for example, when you see some countries like the Thailand, Malaysia, when you say the 80% product, agricultural product, go for the processing side, means post-harvest losses they try to reduce, and every stakeholder is involved in that one. But the case in the other countries, like even in India, is not the same one. Because there are some reasons in general what we say The farmer one is maybe our part is the smallholder farmers because people in the come in the idea of our agricultural land or landholding side is small and the technology may be expensive or maybe we don't have the enough product to process for that one or use the technology for that one. That may be some reason or some challenges that may be we coming in the detail one from the challenging from the education to gender side. That also may be the something. So what exactly what we say when we look for the adoption, just to we see the technology that is tested for a specific product and that is ready for use for the farmers. If they use this one, this may helping them to reduce the losses, maintain the product quality. And the pictures what we show here still the practices. If you go to farmer, you go the your market level, what we say here the mandi, the similar situation we can see here. So when we come to the main socio-cultural factor that may be restriction or barrier for our adoption of technology, there may we can consider for the this important one. First one, knowledge and awareness. Gender, who is the responsible take the decision? Men, woman, or sometimes it's a jointly. What's their educational background? Are they ready to adopt the change or ready to take the new advancement in the technology and implement it? Sometimes they feel maybe the risk. Sometimes cultural belief or practices, cultural beliefs in this case, we may go in the detail in that one. Like traditionally what we use in the practices, this may be the correct one. And people are not ready to accept that one. We need to change from current practices to new practices. Though they have the idea, they are good, and sometimes there are restrictions, that types of beliefs keep them away from the adoption. Then the community and social norms, sometimes they have the fear. If I get failure, if the society with us or against us, for that factor also there. Age, okay, that may be one important part because when young farmers, penetrators and the old one, they how their mentality is different in that one, how to adopt that one. Their risk factor, taking the risk factor is also different one. And finally, it comes one about the when we're talking about technology, is a cost effective, are they affordable, and if, when we look for the return side, are we getting that enough return from that one, and what's the government policies for that one. Suppose we need to, when you talk about the cold storage one, and cost of cold storage probably, when you see here, is go very high one. If the government is ready to give the subsidies or free interest free loan, so that all the factors making here we can adopt technology or not. And for the making this adoption successful, probably we like to overcome on that one actually, because finally as we research we come in that one is better to adopt, and that's maybe targeted from the every organization, even from government policy, that technology what we develop, even in the lab level, research level or tested, is supposed to reach to the end users. So first one in that one about knowledge and awareness. Particularly about the awareness is when you talk with the farmers and visit them and they will tell you, okay, we have that issues, we have the problem, the product of quality will never, when it reach to the market, not up to the satisfactory level or the reaching up to the optimum standard. It's not the things, they're not aware about that one, but another one, how to overcome that one. So they know the problem, but how to overcome that problem. Is there some technology, some practices they may use or adopt? It may help them to protect their product. And the lack of awareness, particularly how to adopt, how the technology available, so that may helping them to maintain the quality for the product as well as to extend the shelf life, so they can protect the product even the farm level. Now, probably we aware something here. One thing what I mentioned here, the awareness and the farmer level, where they say the land holding side is quite small, but the technology we can come here from cost basis and some small cheap technology, what we say, like storing the product, like even the evaporative cooling and that type of things. With the practices they can use at a farm level with them, and they can keep the product for longer period. Then when we go for the bigger side, sometimes it comes with the cooperative one. The people maybe come together and bring the group of farmers together so they can adopt the technology better way. And when they are not aware that things actually what technology available, particularly when after harvesting the product, what supposed to we do? So as we aware, the one thing actually once we harvest it, the important is pre-cooling, because we need to take the field heat out from the product. So what may be the practice? So that may be the awareness. Okay, harvest the product early morning. If they train the people with the campaigning and things, and after harvesting, make the product cool as soon as possible. Maybe keeping the product at lower temperature, or otherwise just using the cold water to drop with for some specific product. So when you are able to remove the filth from the product, you are able to keep the product for longer period. And in such practices, if you're not aware or not ready to adopt that one, invariably what the result is high post-harvest losses, and invariably losses is high, quality is not better, then directly come to the financial things like when we say the low income. Then about the technologies, when we say the lacking, sometimes it not reach to the farmer as well. Okay, some campaigning government policy try to make that one, it not reaches, and at the same time when the technology reaches to the farmer, they like to know it is effective or not, because a number of factors depends on that one. Is it adopted a particular product, particular crop, particular atmospheric condition, and link with the costing, because sometimes they have the perception when the technology come it is not cheap. Okay, so they need to pay a very high amount, but there is a possibility that the costing may be reduced with the different policies may be there for the farmers benefit this one. So when they look for the that all the factors, what is the current practices going on, means it's like when we say we need to be come with what is the current trends in the industry. Okay, so what is the in the cold storage side, what is the practices going on? Before it was a cold storage, and we see the practices that may go to lakhs to crore rupees. Now government come with the policies, even solar power based cold storage in the practices now. So they may reduce the price of electricity, this one. At the same time government making the policy, okay, make the maximum subsidies or reduce the interest rate. So if they aware that they make the some change in their behavior to adopt that one. And what is the current packaging one? Now in packaging side, number of materials they use for the packaging, there may be one possibility that's what's locally available material they can use for this one. Suppose the area where they have the bamboo or some local material they can use for the cushioning one. they can use for the packaging material. And recently I came aware one thing about one Thailand study where they are try to use leaves, but a better way, not like directly keeping, make the packaging directly from the banana leaves where they can protect the product from. With. So, and even some advanced techniques for the drying, because in the post-harvest side, today also we agree in that one, the drying is one of the oldest preservation methods, but people also aware that one, that's we need to dry, but the practices what they using still completely rely on open sun drying. Though it's cheap, but at the same time, we're not able to maintain the quality of the product. So if they aware, okay, not direct sun drying, so open sun drying, maybe they have indirect solar drying, some greenhouse drying, that type of practices or awareness for that one, that may be able to change their attitude, their approach towards the adoption of the technology. So one thing, whenever change what we expected from the stakeholder side, firstly they're supposed to be aware about this one. So that's why we say here that awareness is our foundation. So whatever change we expect from the stakeholders, from the farmer side to the end user one, they must aware actually for this one, what's available, what's the practices going on there, and what's the technology available. So, and the stakeholder side, even they can't link with the advancements, some government policy maker, they can help them regarding these technologies, just to campaign actually. Then another aspect after this one is the gender. Now, in the agriculture side, we can consider that men and women nowadays they contribute equally in that both side. Some practices in agriculture side, particularly when you talk about the fruits and vegetable harvesting and that part, that where the men commonly involved, and some practices were dominated by the woman. After harvesting side, when we see in the market level, mostly the practices and surveys and studies they come in that one, that's more dominated by woman, okay, post-harvest one. So, like to see here how their decision making for this one. Are they ready to change the approach towards that practices to adopt? Or sometimes some studies even show that one, their cultural factors actually, what they are believing, the society one, their rights particularly, though they are involving in their practices, are they capable to make the decision, or are they have the rights to make the decision, or they need to combine decision to adopt the practices? So that also makes the big impact in this one. If there is a practice we aware this one, and it may costing or taking time process, if the woman can directly take the decision, no, I would like to adopt this, I like to go for the training for particular post-harvest training practices to know and use my for practices, or she need to take the decision as a company, as a family, or with the stakeholder involved in that one. So, and even what is the assets? Suppose people are living in the Odisha and they aware that one, okay, the product we have here, they have the technology, but not in India, they made it from somewhere. They have the assets, they can easily access from that technology or go for the training. If the training they adopted in the long distance, is it possible for culture way to send them alone to go for there? So that type of situation, that type of practices may be a kind of barrier for this one. The access for the technologies, suppose some technology, as we are working the similar field in post-harvest side, some technologies maybe they use develop itself in the country for different institutes. So some may be outside, but when we are aware that one, that maybe we can replicate in our area. Can we easily access for the technology? at the root level, or we need to rely on what we have existing one. So that may be some chain or some way to get that here, and we need to agree on that one. We need to agree, particularly when we mention here the whatever resources, whatever information people inputting that one, it may be men or woman, that is the cultural practices based on their situation make big impact to adopt the technology, or just keep it how they are doing that one. Then importantly about the education, and there may be different studies, they're looking in the agriculture side, how the educational background make the awareness, at the same time how people are ready to adopt some. And we may agree on all on this one, the higher education helping here to make the decision to adoption the new technologies. And whatever new changes what we see here in the farm level, there are new generation people who is highly educated come in the sector, making the decision, taking the advantage of new advancement in the post-harvest technology, adopting at farm level, even in the whole post-harvest value chain. So what we at the end, what we say, the beneficiary side may extending and maintain the quality of the product. And the education also, sometimes when we have limited or sometimes even the primary education, because before what the trend was that people who live in the agriculture practices, who doing the agriculture, mainly their education level was low. Okay, but now the change is happening here. Some people we can say the highly educated also, they look here to ready to adopt here. Probably one of the best example we come across here in the Maharashtra. There was one group, they call it a Sahyadri Farmers Association. Okay, so the person is from the engineering background, his agriculture engineering, and he did a master in the Postharvest, and that was the biggest farmer association, farmer group, who sell, who turn over more than crores of rupees. That is near to Nashik. Okay, near to Nashik, they are mainly working the grapes now. So when they come in that area to advancement, adopt new technology, and at the same time they make it when the people are living, and when you, because that was one thing is the leadership there, when the people are also ready to follow you if you show something positive symptom from that one. If the people are saying okay, they adopting new technology, their income is increasing, they are maintaining the quality of the product, so indirectly the people are ready to follow in this sector for you as well. So sometimes there are some technical glitch also there. Sometimes people like to know the things very simple way. Okay, farmer for farmers. If we have the manual and we like the technical information that how we look for our side, it's for you for very difficult for the farmers to easily understand this one. And that may be the that's why we say here some limited education they may able to unable to understand actually, and they may struggle actually for this one. What may be the how this working, what may be operational going on, and when it's coming in that complicated, they already come in that okay, it's not my cup of tea. I will come out from that one. Okay, so it may be one thing. It may be go more simple way, but if you have education, good education background, they may ready to accept this one. And so that was the research, and they do here that one. When there is a higher education or good education for that one, they may easily adopt the new technology because they try to adopt whatever technical skill required for particular and what may be the resources they have to utilize better. So that may be very beneficial things here having the higher education. Then after this one, some cultural beliefs and practices. Sometimes, okay, we come in the socio-cultural practices. Some we may come across, some very difficult to change actually, because some cultural beliefs actually and traditional practices, because still people coming in that way, some regions, they do not want to change. Whatever the practices coming from generation, they like to follow the similar way. Okay, so they come in the sometimes the argument is no, my forefather, my generation doing that one for that particular products and their experience, we need to respect that one. Okay, so their beliefs actually sometimes not allow them to adopt some technologies. Though they are coming in that one, they may beneficial even some areas from similar product, they may be successful. So the practices, particularly in the region, and it was quite difficult sometimes to change because just they believe that one is coming by generation to generation and they pass it to us. Not easy to change this one. And at the same time, when it's coming for the new one, their new advanced technology may be using similar practices. Sometimes they okay, so this is something unknown, unfamiliar technology, though they are doing the similar work, quite advancement with this one. So that's probably the one thing. And though their practices are more advancement, more beneficial, but if their traditional practices, their beliefs are too strong to leave that practice and adopt that change. Sometimes it's like it's not exactly the taking the risk, but it's like a go against the tradition, and this is quite difficult thing even here. So sometimes they may, rather than encouraging the people to adopt new technology, they may go the negative side to keep in the similar way. And some practices we can see, you are a lot of press means sometimes they come in okay harvesting time rather than maturity side, they believe on the time. Okay, so as a scientifically what we consider here, what when we need to harvest the product, we need to get a proper maturity. But sometimes they come here, no, that is the period of the product when we need to harvest. So even they're not able to listen that way. Then about the what's the community and social norms. Sometimes one thing for the human being, what we consider one, we are a social animal. Okay? When we using our social platform, we are looking two things: appreciation or negative comments. Okay, and people are the fearing for this one. Okay, and sometimes they have in the social way what we say when they adopt the technology, if not successful or something going wrong or taking the risk, and that may be expected there, we may get the criticism, strong criticism from the society. Or sometimes when I accept the technology, for example, all the society is not ready to accept new change. But as a your awareness, your information, we are coming in that one, okay, this technology is better for particular crop. Still you taking the decision against the complete society. Then the change is here. If we're successful, that's fine. If something go wrong, it may be getting the one criticism, or sometimes there is a practices, some farmer level, you can say they may be society may be exclude you from their group. They consider you the outsider. That's the practices. And that may what will affect here in the society one, because we are sometimes like a social decisions. Okay, so how you taking the decision, that may be in what society you are living. Okay, it's affecting your decision. You are ready to change or not. Your behavior, particularly toward the new technologies, particularly, and you may agree in that one actually. We have the different state, different country, different countries around the world. Even in the country we have sometimes the adoption of technology, some states is quite higher compared to another states. You may come some states like, for example, if you consider like a state like Punjab, adoption of agriculture technology is quite high compared to another states. Some state, if you come here, even in the Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand or any other, there may be practices people still believe in the traditional way. The adoption rate is quite low. It may, we not say it's a not changing, but adoption rate is slow, means very minimal level they are trying to change that. So that all in the beliefs in the what the society, what the community were doing that. And one thing what we do here, we researcher, what we do, whatever the problem we feel, we may ask your seniors. Okay, that's our research problem. Or then next level, maybe your supervisor, we can discuss this. Okay, some issues with my understanding or research. Even in the agriculture side, what they do here, they do what their peers, people get their advices, their suggestions. Okay, that's happening. The product is getting damaged as soon as harvested. What may be their suggestion, and they suggest you by their experiences. Some may it may good. Sometimes if they have educational background, data background, they may come in the technical side, or sometimes just similar way what they have the beliefs. Okay, so that taking guidance from the peers, and they may go individually take their guidance, adopt or not adopt, and that makes sense here even for the small farmers taking ideas. But the peers actually, or you are, when we say the supervisor or something, we believe okay, he know better than us. That's what we expect here. If they are ready to adopt the technology, ready to change, they may be give the properly guidelines for this one. But it may just practice their experience. Sometimes it may not work. Then another factor here is, now okay, we again agree on this one because it makes the how you are ready to adopt any change, new practices, adoption of new technologies. When you are early in the colleges, early in the universities, you have that dream to change everything. With time, you keeping here for 20 years, it may be quite difficult or challenging actually to adopt this one. So when you come here, the most, okay, that is the important part here. Okay, I say most adoption or accepting the changes in the post-harvest side, the youth community. But I carefully using word here youth, because you may find some practices using by the senior people, but they are very low. Okay, so because you have the mindset, you have the mentality, and ready to accept the change, you are aware what is going in the world, going in the industry, going in that processing side, post-harvest side. Even you come here, okay, what type of product people looking for, what type of technology they are looking for, what technology is helping here to keep the product for longer period. For example, if we come in the cold storage practices that is commonly used to store the product, then suddenly you may have the aware that okay, technology, when we read in the, now the socially or getting the information, why not compare to cold storage, normal cold storage, whenever I go for the control atmospheric one, that may be helping me here to keep the product for longer. But when we see again the practices here, the cost may be quite expensive here, but recently we get the idea here, why not even the renewable energy powered cold storage. That is the something actually we expect from the youth here, and mostly they have likely to be ready to adopt such practices actually. And at the same times, they may have sometimes knowledge, or sometimes ready to accept that one. Sometimes if they're not aware that one, but they are eager, ready to look for that one, how that practice is working, how we can adopt that one, how we can use for us that one. So that may be youth actually involving that as a main stakeholder, particularly in and another way when you see the world, because sometimes changing their attitude because they still believe what I am doing from last 30 years, 25 years, it's a correct one. I'm not ready to change what I am believing. Correct? And what sometimes they feel, even you talk with those who are coming from the farmer background, they may coming in this way, if we advocating for new technology, new advancement, they may come here two things. So it may be risky, okay? That's always say whenever new things come, that we call is a kind of generation gap. Yeah? Whatever new things comes and whenever we talk, okay, it's a risky to adopt this one, or sometimes it's not important. It's unnecessary, just a waste of our time, resources, everything. So that one, the generation gap, particularly youth one, there the possibility from the youth generation is quite high to adoption for this one, and they may not helping here to go smoothly this one. And one assumption was that one, whatever new things come, it may be expensive. Sometimes we found some practices just to changing the approach, how to use the practices may change a lot of things. Like for example, when we come here, pre-cooling, there are a lot of advancement techniques. But when you say the cheapest option was that one, pre-cooling as soon as field is removing, we're keeping the product under the shade as soon as we harvest it, just to make the product cool naturally under the shade, or cooling with the cold water rather than expensive technologies, just changing the approaches. Because what the study telling here, 6-hour delay in the pre-cooling, you can save there, means if you make the time as 6-hour delay, it may losing at least 1 week shelf life of the product. Because once the respiration metabolism changes inside, we cannot stop that one. So such practices, maybe we can advocate for the targeted group to adopt that new solutions. Then, particularly when the cost. Okay. So sometimes we aware, okay, the technology is good, it may be useful, we can sell the product, maintain the quality, then even pay the good prices. But what about the initial cost? If it's quite expensive, shall we go for that one? And that may be changed if you get the proper guidance actually. So they have given the proper analysis this way. Okay, we are investing this one for the such technology, the adoption of technology. For the time being, for particular product, you may face that may be benefit after a certain period. With that type of campaign, that type of information getting for the stakeholders. And now we can see in the around the side, the scenario is changing. Even we see the cluster to cluster for that type of practices people are using. Even the every state, every area, they are clustering for this one. They're using sometimes technologies involving from the whole post-culture. Maybe they have a better post-harvest handling tools. Okay, they have cold storage practices. They have transportation, quite good quality transportation, where they can properly handle the product. At the same time, eco-friendly packaging. That's awareness for the people. And then they come here because the perception what we have about the cost and at the end what benefit they will get by One is the education, giving the proper education, okay, that's information, how the process working, but at the same time, we're demonstrating that one with some products, how it is helping here to maintain the product and coming in the better way, and what may be the important one, financial support they are getting. It may be sometimes with awareness when there are many government ministries, even some NGOs, they are looking here the adoption for this one and helping the people to adopt the technology. So it may helping there change their perceptions. Though some technologies may be costly, but if we with the time they may getting the good benefit this one. Particularly when you talk about the cold storage, because the cold storage practice is quite expensive. That we need to agree on that one. The facility, the requirement, space, and that may be. And sometimes they may go at the community level or corporate level, but by education and demonstration and the supporting from the funding bodies, it may help to overcome on that one. And that may be opportunity for stakeholders to adopt the new technologies. So this may be some factors, what we say the social culture, and there may be some case studies particularly we do here, that maybe we can see the approaches, attitude, the people towards the advancement of technologies. So this is one case study actually what we did here in the Oman, actually this is a market. So one practice here in the practice, because okay, that's a study done by us only. There, what they check there, we have the like a mandi type market, and the vendors used to bring their product, sometimes local, sometimes imported, selling the products. Particularly the ovens with the different factors we consider here when they keeping the product for longer period. And what we find interestingly there, the people have particularly the vendors, okay, the vendors have the quite good awareness, the knowledge of the practices, so how to keep the product a better way with lower temperature and the practices at the same time with the educational background helping them actually do their practices. So that is helping them to keep their product with a longer period at the same time getting the good price for the product because they maintain the quality of that one. The why is important in the vendor side, because the product coming in the there and in the Middle East, another one is atmospheric condition quite harsh, the temperature goes quite high here. The product will not stay for longer. And as a consumer side, what that their main practice here, our first impression to check the product, picture and color of the product. That's when we go to market. We see by our eye the product is good, and then just keep by hand picture. And that is the two primary parameters of appearance and the texture to see the product is good or not. And the vendors here, when they use the practices to store that product in this one, because sometimes the vendors comes and they not able to sell all the fruits vegetables they are getting the same day. They need to keep it for longer period, and if it is not properly handled there, next day it may go to the landfill directly. So here when that one, the key message from that one actually, their knowledge about the post-harvest practices and educational background is helping them to maintain the product. Then another one case study here, because that is what the practices what we talk about the socio-cultural one. Their experience when they're doing the farming, their age, okay, their age and their social beliefs on the practices. Can we use it? The advanced techniques or not? And what surprisingly there was this technology because their studies from the African continent, and African continent mainly the post-harvest practice of what we consider here, adopted by the means dominated by the woman. And the studies even come in that one finally. The woman group actually who is responsible or making the decisions, that practices are ready to adopt storage practices. Okay. Now, though in African country, one other story with this one, the production of maize and things, but they cannot get the product because mostly times we read the news for hunger and things from African one. Their practice of storage practice is still up to not that mark, and then the maize after harvesting because they're not able to use the proper storage drying practice and alpha-toxin and things, so they're not keep for the longer period. So there was always the campaigning from the FAO, or as well as the government, what advancement supposed to do there. Though the technology is cheaper, but it's helping them keep their product for the longer period. But coming with the social factors, actually, they are ready to adopt this one, storage practice, once they know the importance of that one. Then another one, even in the Nigeria, come here with the practices again, because this is all studies, that the case studies is just to show here, are they the stakeholder in the farmers are ready to adopt the practices or not, and the information the given to the people. But the one barrier, as we already told here, what I mentioned here, low level of literacy. So educational, when we talk about education, still to be found there, it was the biggest barrier to adopt technology, because sometimes they are very strongly believing what they're using or what they're practicing. They're not ready to change the practices as soon as possible. So whatever the innovation come now, and why it's important again, now we all sitting as researcher people, okay? So you will innovate something, you will bring something for the society. But at the end, what we expect here, there's supposed to be end user for that one. The technology is supposed to available for the communities, to the people, to the stakeholder in the side. And the education is supposed to link with the education, because if there is not literacy, not awareness for them, not ready to adopt your things easily. And so that's why their study also come in that one, that low level of literacy is big barrier for the adoption of new technology or effective use of the technology. They still using how they want to use this. Then another one is the study, actually, even from the African one, mostly what we found here, but mostly as a dominated by the female, and they come here, they are still believing in the practices what are the traditionally used practices, okay, not the advancement or innovative techniques. They are quite using this one, and they have limited adoption. When we say about the gender based one, there's a limited base adoption for the modern technology. They have the lack of scientific knowledge. So, and another one with the scientific knowledge, that may be one thing. We cannot tell the people in the farmer life with a technical language. We cannot tell them with a technical language. We need to make the things very simple way so they can easily understand. And another one barrier here, cost, local unavailability, and lack of knowledge. Local unavailability, some techniques actually. Now we read the papers, read the articles, we found here, okay, we have something good technology where we can store the banana with the utility management practices, proper utility management with the link with the control atmospheric. But if the technology is not here, the machinery is developed in some European parts, to bringing from there, it may be quite expensive. Or is it a possibility we can replicate here in the country? So if it's a locally available, that may be aware this will be cheaper. People can easily adopt it, and they may customize as per our requirement. Then sometimes even some practices, when those studies they come here, people, when you say, people still believe on their experiences rather than technology. So if they're coming in this one, okay, I'm doing the farming from last 20 years and you are telling me today to adopt this one, we're not going to change as soon as possible. Okay, so the factors like the farming experience, the household side comes here, the people who is using, but at the same time they are involved in the decision. Sometimes we see in this one, someone is ready to adopt, someone's not ready to. So that may be making some things. And if they involving in the decision making, sometimes involved in the cooperative association, that all things make here one of the things that when we adopt the technique, technology, procedure are used for the proper post-harvest practices. And with this one, some technologies, people are interested, people like to use this one. Okay, that are some practices. And then the barrier comes here, the finance one. If we have the sufficient amount, sufficient money for this one, if no, what maybe the resources is the government is ready to give some subsidy or low interest, and that's all the things make here sense actually to make the popularize the practices. Nowadays, probably those coming from the agriculture, aware about the agriculture ministry and things, and then in India particularly, they're making a lot of campaigning nowadays to make the whatever techniques, technologies developed at a research station, it's supposed to be available for the farmers. But at the same time, not only the technology, they need to come with what the financial things, what is the cost. If you're using what may be the benefit with coming with the time, that's supposed to link with this one. And then there was recently more advancement, the technologies before cold storage we come here, and some areas though we using cold storage, but our issue is even from the electricity. Some parts of the country still getting 24-hour access of electricity is the difficult one, and commonly in the rural parts where we say our agriculture side. So then they come with something like a renewable based, solar based cold storage when they can use energy from solar energy directly. But even the success of these factors completely depends on how they get the awareness. What about the investment cost? And yeah, so we come here one factor from the farmer side, they're not ready to pay. It's a low paying person there actually. A lot of money for the when we use it for their practices one. So, and even sometimes the link with the consumers awareness also important. If they looking the product with the old one or not, if they don't know, they don't bother. If they know, they will look for it's coming from cold storage or directly from the farm. So when we talk about all the factors, socio-cultural one, we come here that will summarize way. One is the adoption rate, okay, because still that is one thing, the adoption rate is quite low, so it's not reaching up to the consumers, and that is the one thing actually if you see in the post-harvest side, the number 1/3 is still there, the post-harvest losses, and that is why it was surprising little bit. When I was student, I used the same number. some value. Now you are student after 20 years, you are looking for same number. That we have that number of 40 to 50% losses. And that may the traditional practices what we using for the post-harvest handling. Of course, it may still going to the food losses, huge food losses towards this one. Then it may having the product quality not reaching up to competitive and fresh good final one. And sometimes the technologies with the researcher side, they are bringing with a new innovation, new idea is not adopted from the end user. So sometimes it may be slow the progress for this one, even for the innovation side as well. Okay. So sometimes we come with the problems here actually, some factors they are responsible that one. But we need to look for some better side, how to overcome on that one. So there must be campaigning. So awareness, people make the awareness. So first idea, once they aware this one, okay, we have the losses. You not need to believe that when their losses supposed to be there. We have the practices, we have the some technologies. It may help you to reduce that losses with a region to region, product to product. That may be possible. So awareness raising campaigning, that may be role of sometimes the Ministry of Agriculture, sometimes the universities where they develop some new techniques, new technology, or another stakeholder like NGOs and things, they may make that one. So it's like when we say because it's gender role, but both men and women involved in the practices. So making the common decision, coming together in this one and encourage, okay, they are both aware about what the decision they are making for this one. Even when they have the demonstration training, it is better. Sometimes it's like though woman is the responsible for take the practices and training done by the men. So that may be changed actually. So everyone is supposed to involve in this one. Okay. Then there may be policy support, like for example, what is the technology development, what is there, if they have the machines, some equipment, what their documentation, what's their training program, for how it will help, and what is the policy for the finance, is the government ready to help this one. So policy support also important for this one to overcome on this one. Then whatever we are doing for this one, community supposed to understand, okay, what we are doing here for the betterment of that one. Okay. So whatever technological advancement is coming, or we are using the new advancement, that is indirectly helping them to improve their or increase their financial benefits actually. So they may be aligned with this one, and they may be helping here, okay, they are ready to adopt this one. And some technologies, as we mentioned here, some technologies we are coming here, okay, we are developing countries, sometimes states, and sometimes even for another country that may be we consider quite useful to use it to countries. And this time, whenever technologies, sometimes the financial one, the taxes on the agriculture product, the technologies which are directly beneficial for the community, farmer community, supposed to waive off, or there may be some rebate on their taxes. That may be, otherwise it may be expensive, the technology quite become expensive and people not ready to accept this one. Particularly when like to make you more popularized in the rural. Sometimes when we're looking for solutions or looking for technology adoption, it's not bad idea to involve the stakeholder, even the farmer, with your research ideas, research concept, okay? And we're looking for the solution, particular community, a particular product, maybe the stakeholder for that one. If they involve this one, they may know what may be the success, how it may be useful for them. So it's like a pilot studies we are doing with them. Okay, and importantly here, whatever instrument we aware this one, they will come with technical language. So when it coming to the end user, to the farmer level, it may be translated and make them very simple way, easy, ready to use actually. So it may be translated and they may be stepwise, not make them complicated actually. People do not like any complicated. Okay, the machine is supposed to be, the information is supposed to be very simple words to be addressed. Then it's like policy makers, they're supposed to offer subsidies because some policies, yes, we are aware there was some campaigning from Ministry of Horticulture or Agriculture. They are always going with subsidies, even low interest rates, sometimes a rebate for if there is a woman or gender, encouragement the gender for this one. So it may really help there adopt that technology and coming to us reduce the losses. And then, as we mentioned here, that one part here, we believe on the peers sometimes. So we are aware of this farmer in the community, they are ready to adopt this one. So following them or taking the guidance from them and even collaborate with the, such type of leaders is also helping here to adopt the technologies. And even now the people, when we say when the small farmer, because land holding is small and making the product, making final product is quite small, if they coming in the like a local cooperative groups or making together the groups for the product particular, and they make the branding for that one and using the product, using technology at the community level, purchasing or bringing that one, that's also making help there. So this may be all aspects when we're looking to address whatever the issues happening, and the socio-cultural is the big issue because it's not only, it changes here again one thing, country to country, state to state, region to region, there are a number of practices why it not reaching up to the end level. Okay. So we will stop with now here with our topic on the socio-cultural barrier towards the post-harvest adoption. And if you have any queries, any question regarding this, then we have discuss on that one. Thank you.